Hello and welcome to Analysis. The very public row between actress Scarlett Johansson and the charity Oxfam has put the Palestinian cause back in the headlines. Johansson decided to step down as Oxfam's representative after it became clear that her decision to become the public face of the SodaStream Corporation compromised her position at Oxfam. SodaStream runs factories on occupied Palestinian land taken by Israel in the 1967 war. Oxfam said that it was not compatible with their principles to have an ambassador that endorsed the dispossession of the Palestinians. Johansson has repeated the SodaStream position that they are giving work to Palestinians. So what does this row tell us about the boycott campaign aimed at Israel? And what does it tell us about celebrity involvement in charities and indeed in politics? Well, with me in the studio are Paul Collins from War on Want and Tansy Hoskins, author of the newly published book Stitched Up, the Anti-Capitalist Book of Fashion. On Skype, we're joined by boycott advocate Omar Barghouti. But first, let's take a look at this report by Tayana Simons.
Like most actors, my real job is saving the world. Start with plain water.
This was the advert played at the halftime of America's Super Bowl on Sunday, costing $4 million for a 30-second slot. It was designed to make an impact, enshrining actress Scarlett Johansson as the new global face of SodaStream. But the Hollywood starlet's campaign with the fizzy drink company has come under heavy fire after it came to light that the Israeli company operates a factory in the occupied West Bank, illegal under international law. Under intense criticism from pro-Palestinian activists, the controversy has led to Johansson stepping down as an ambassador for humanitarian group Oxfam, which opposes trade with Israeli settlements in the West Bank. A statement from Johansson's spokesperson read, "She and Oxfam have a fundamental difference of opinion in regards to the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement. She is very proud of her accomplishments and fundraising efforts during her tenure with Oxfam." Oxfam responded by saying, "Oxfam has accepted Scarlett Johansson's decision to step down after 8 years as a global ambassador, and we are grateful for her many contributions. While Oxfam respects the independence of our ambassadors, Ms. Johansson's role promoting the company's SodaStream is incompatible with her role as Oxfam Global Ambassador. Oxfam believes that businesses such as SodaStream that operate in settlements further the ongoing poverty and denial of rights of the Palestinian communities that we work to support." The controversy was once again bringing global attention to the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, also highlights the responsibility that celebrities have on representing humanitarian issues.
To making this planet a better place.
But can ethics overrule ego in an industry where image is everything?
So Tansy, Scarlett Johansson, huge mistake, do you think?
I think she has made a huge mistake, and I think she's made a mistake that she will be judged for. In the fullness of time, she will be judged as being on the wrong side of history. I mean, she, by deciding to become the face of a company which is so much a part of the Israeli occupation, like the physical occupation of occupied Palestine, she's basically showing that she doesn't give two hoots for human rights and that she's more concerned about her pocketbook than she is with the lives of ordinary men and women living in Palestine.
And Paul, this is, I suppose it's surprising in a way because it's running against the grain of recent successes for the boycott campaign, where many performers have refused to perform in Israel. So she's sort of in an exposed position because of that, isn't she?
Yes, she has gone against the flow that we've seen in recent years. And in fact, 2006, War on Want published a report profiting from the occupation, which identifies SodaStream as part of the occupation. And it's most regrettable that Scarlett Johansson, with her charisma and power to influence her own fans, has gone in the wrong direction. But we hope that other celebrities perhaps will see the wrongness of her decision and continue to join many more artists who have backed the BDS movement.
Just tell us a little bit more about what your report said then, because obviously Scarlett Johansson has identified herself with SodaStream's rebuttal of Oxfam's position, saying, well, we're giving work to Palestinians and whatnot. So what did your report find about that?
Well, we take our lead from our partners in Palestine, and like in South Africa, they did call for a boycott. And that BDS campaign has gathered huge momentum around the world, and so much so that even quarters that you would not imagine might be sympathetic, like the Financial Times, have criticised SodaStream for supporting the occupation, which has to end in order for the Palestinians to get justice.
Okay, well, let me just bring in Omar Barghouti a moment. I'm sorry, we just lost the link with Omar. We'll come back to him shortly. So, Tanzi, do you think that she is more exposed because recently a whole number of very high-profile artists have refused to perform in Israel?
Well, and I think it's partly that, but I think it's partly because the truth about Israel is very much out there now. I mean, ever since the horrific war on Gaza by Israel, Operation Cast Lead in 2009, I think world opinion has been shifting away from supporting Israel. I think, I mean, you know, the internet is helping to document and publicise the daily humiliations and oppressions that Palestinians face every day. So I think it's partly that celebrities are changing, but I think it's partly because world opinion is very much against Israel at the moment, and Israel knows that.
Paul, do you think that's the way it's been running? I mean, you know, I mentioned the celebrities, but you know, Tanzi's saying there's a sort of broader kind of shift in favour of Palestinians and a more hostile attitude towards the state of Israel. Do you think that is the way it's been going, say, I know, in the last decade, perhaps?
Yes, I think people have become more aware of the suffering of the Palestinians. It's all very well to point to a limited number of Palestinians who have got work through SodaStream, but the occupation has caused such massive unemployment and poverty that SodaStream are colluding with Israel's government.
In what ways does that work? Can you perhaps explain to viewers why it's kind of a bad thing economically, apart from all the other ways in which it might be?
Well, you take a company like G4S, which we've campaigned against. They have supported the Israeli prisons, which detain children without trial or charges. There are other companies producing settlement goods, which are exported to Britain. These are issues that have engaged many members of the public who see the complete injustice of a government that has subjugated a people for so long. And they have joined our campaigns, and joined Palestinians in pressing in the international community for action. The United Nations has passed resolutions which have condemned the Israeli government for breaking laws on the occupation, on the apartheid war, and I think in one way this may be a regrettable diversion, the Scarlett Johansson withdrawal, but it may, as the Financial Times leader exemplified, actually put more focus on the fact that the occupation is still ongoing and there's a need for more artists to join the likes of Roger Waters, Pink Floyd, many other musicians, actors, writers and academics who say no to the occupation.
What do you think it is, Tanzi, that's produced that kind of broader shift? Because it really is something for the last 10 years. I mean, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have got majorities in the opinion polls as you do now, which are more sympathetic to the Palestinians than to the Israeli state. What do you think has produced that shift?
Well, I think, I mean, I have to say, I mean, being here in London, which is known as the pro-Palestinian capital of Europe, and having been part of the Stop the War coalition since its founding over a decade ago, that I think it's been these kind of social movements in places like Europe and indeed in America that have brought a lot more focus onto the Palestinian question. And of course, the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign and organisations like War on Want have been key in raising awareness about what's happening over there and kind of peeling back the surface of like the PR surface that Israel projects and looking at actually what's behind that.
I mean, you know, you're saying, and we've been talking about, you know, various high-profile people who've joined the BDS campaign. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, when people do things for causes that we like, we say that's fantastic. Roger, you know, from Pink Floyd, so fantastic. When people do things like this, we don't like it. Is there double standards there? Well,
I don't think it's just that we don't like it. I think that We approve when people take a stand in favour of human rights, you know, basic human dignities. And it's not okay when somebody acts as a pretty face or a front for war crimes, essentially, and for the illegal occupation of Palestinian land, and for 6 million, you know, refugees, Palestinian refugees who aren't allowed to come home. So it's not just that we don't like it. It's like this side is human rights, that side is war crimes and terror by Israel.
Do you think that sometimes the use of celebrities obscures getting to the roots of the problem in the way that Hansi's just described, rather than assists getting to the root of the problem?
Well, one has been vocal in looking at the Make Poverty History campaign, where celebrities performed concerts, Live 8 as well, but somewhat camouflaged the issues and joined forces with governments and corporations that actually compound the reality of poverty and hardship around the world. So what we are needing to do when we work with celebrities is to ensure that their politics are sympathetic to the campaigns that we undertake, where you have people who've sometimes gone into studios and been examined under robust interrogation and been found wanting. That doesn't always mean that they haven't been briefed. It may mean that there's a superficiality to their involvement.
So, I mean, War on Want's known as a kind of campaigning sort of charity, as a radical charity. Do you think that perhaps at the other end of the spectrum, the sort of more charities, so to say, that they themselves are dealing with an issue superficially, and therefore it encourages a kind of superficial identification with them?
Well, I have to say, as a journalist, campaigning journalist, the celebrity culture is fuelled by the media, and therefore it's quite often the case that charities feel, from experience, that the only way they'll get interest in a particular issue or a campaign is to get a celebrity involved. But it still demands the correct answer to the question, what is the root of their politics behind their engagement? Because, as Scarlett Johansson has identified, it was only skin deep.
So, Tansy, do you think maybe, I mean, I guess if I sort of paraphrase what Paul's saying, it's not the celebrity we should object to, but the celebrity that doesn't have the politics to carry the weight of the campaign?
Well, I think part of the problem here is that for a lot of charities, celebrities and celebrity endorsement has become the end. It's not a means to an end; it's the end. It's what somebody's job role is just to sign up celebrities, regardless of what their politics is or the message is, and that's very, very dangerous territory. I mean, I'm all in favour of using a celebrity endorsement to further the aims of your campaign. I'm not in favour of just having the celebrity as the campaign, which is indeed what I think was one of the mistakes Make Poverty History made and Live Aid made.
Do you think that the kind of the limits, the political limits that celebrities are willing to stay within, sometimes limits what the charities can say? In other words, do you think that sometimes the tail's wagging the dog?
Definitely, I think so. I mean, because a celebrity is not just an individual. A celebrity is a brand. So the Scarlett Johansson brand is a wholesome, all-American gal kind of brand, and she wouldn't be willing to do anything that would jeopardise that brand, except she just did, with severe consequences. So celebrities always, their main focus is on their brand and not jeopardising that. And obviously, charities end up having to weaken their message, do kind of funny social media campaigns instead of hard-hitting politics.
I mean, there's a kind of paradox there, isn't there, Paul? Because, I mean, when Tansy says that, it's a wholesome kind of brand, I mean, that's what the charity's going to go for. I mean, they're not going to, Iggy Pop probably isn't going to be asked to be anybody's brand ambassador. So there's a kind of inherent tension there, isn't there?
Yes, but if you look at campaigns where celebrity engagement has proved effective, like Joanna Lumley with the Gurkhas, in our case, Roger Waters visiting the war, campaigning and speaking out about Scarlett Johansson, Mark Thomas, comedian, and each year we hold a comedy show with leading stand-up artists who know our politics and very much reflect it on stage.
And those are people, when you talk about Mark Thomas, I mean, those are people who are their politics and their sort of professional career are pretty much the same thing. I mean, Mark Thomas is known for being a political comedian, isn't he?
Sure. But we have, for instance, on the campaign against sweatshops in countries like Bangladesh, Mira Sayal, who's not really seen in a political context so much, but she did support our work on that particular campaign. So, yeah, I mean, if you're into harder hitting campaigns, then you'll find that I think politics is seen in terms of show business as being out there, being separate, Westminster, and I think that reflects what's happened in society. I think politicians, there's always the challenge to engage people who are in the mainstream because they see politics as divisive or not about honesty. And so we tend to work with those people we know are more progressive. I mean, Vanessa Redgrave made a radio appeal which raised a lot of money for causes like Palestinians. And we do act in a judicious way to ensure that the people who choose to work with us are representative.
Do you think it was surprising that Oxfam were as tough as they were? Might they have dodged it?
I think the fact they didn't dodge it is a lot down to their own staff. I think a lot of people work for Oxfam because they actually want to change the world, and certainly the people working for Oxfam in Palestine were extremely angry about this, and wrote to the Oxfam management, and also to Oxfam members were quite hard on this, and then the global boycott, divestment and sanctions campaign as well put a lot of pressure on Oxfam. So in a way, they were caught between a rock and a hard place, and they had to listen eventually.
OK, well, we're going to have to leave the discussion for this half of the programme because we're moving towards the break. But do join us afterwards, where we'll be looking at a bit more detail at the link between celebrities, charity and politics. That's after the break.